Yeah, it's always an exciting time for everybody involved in college basketball. The first day of official practice. So much work's gone into the summer work and then the fall preseason. We all look forward to this as coaches, players. I think really the fans look forward to with today's social media and the access of info. It's always kind of an exciting day for everyone. I would also say a lot of confidence and appreciation and thankfulness and just love for the guy y'all just talked to, Kyler Edwards. As a coach, you wish you could sit here and talk about all 14 of your players every day, but it's not quite how it works. But I think Kyler has more than earned the right for me to talk about him as much as I can. One of the most experienced players in college basketball. He's played in 6 NCAA tournament games and an overtime. Played big minutes as a freshman. And then last year, I think really our Texas Tech team was one of the stories in college basketball that would have been told on the biggest stage of March Madness. We were an NCAA tournament team led by Kyler and Moretti and those guys, and that would have been 3 straight NCAA tournaments, the first 3-year span in program history. I think with the COVID and everything going on in the world, and everybody kind of likes to think back of the Final Four team, but I would argue last year's team was a really good team, and we were looking forward to playing in March, and Kyler was a big part of that. So I have a lot of confidence in Kyler this year as our most experienced returner. A guy that I think could be one of the best guards in college basketball.
All right, Pete? Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Coach, can you just talk about today? I know you guys have been practicing, but today, the first official day of practice, just another hurdle to jump as you look forward to November 25th.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. There's optimism all over the office and gym and weight room and locker room today. The NCAA rules, 42 days back from the first game, that's the day, and you get 30 practices in that 42-day period. Normally we have the scrimmages and the exhibition games. This year we don't, so it'll be 30 practices. So from a coaching standpoint, we're trying to figure out how to get through that because normally in a normal year after you've practiced 10, 12 times, you're kind of beating each other up and you can't wait to play somebody else. I think one of the many, many challenges this year in college basketball will be how to get through these 30 practices with no outside competition. But there's an excitement. It's, kind of like the first day of school. You guys, everybody remembers that. You get a good night's sleep and you get up and you're excited and all that. Kind of that's the feeling around here. We want to get off to a good start. We want to start establishing our identity today. We want to look for carryover. We've worked really hard this summer and fall preseason on some things that should be the backbone and kind of base of our team, and we got to make sure that carries over today to the floor as we take our first practice together.
You do the fireside chat. You got to have a real one with your team at the retreat over the weekend. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, you definitely want to wear blue jeans or long pants when you're at a fireside out in the country. That was a rookie move by me. I grew up in the city in a basketball gym. I'm not really the country kind of guy. I'll go float the river in Concan and Lakey, but we really don't have a fire. We go over to the house pasture and use their fire. But that was a rookie move by me and some of the players to have shorts on during that fire, so the show was normally shorter than normal. But that's been a lot of fun. It's very pleasing and humbling when Tech students and fans and people recognize the fireside. That original idea, Wes Bloomquist and myself, and just basically trying to connect with the student body. What can we do in this 2016-17 day to connect with the students? And it's been great for us, and we look forward to continuing that this season and hope the student body has a lot of fun with it.
You got 7 guys coming back, 7 newcomers. How have these guys gelled together through your eyes so far?
Yeah, work in progress. I would echo what Kyler said. We haven't really had a lot of adversity to this point, but you control what you can control. And I think, first of all, getting through the COVID, some of these guys on our team chose to come to Texas Tech with no official visits. The first time I met them was face-to-face in Lubbock. That was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of surreal deal. I give our returners a lot of the credit in our recruiting class. We had great player help in the recruiting. Obviously, our staff, led by Uric, did a great job in the recruiting. But I like where our team's at chemistry-wise right now. It's the first inning. We got a long ways to go, but we've taken care of what we can take care of to this point.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Steven?
Chris, obviously it's a little bit of a different team than you would have had in the NCAA tournament, the Big 12 tournament last year, but just for the guys coming back, how much of a bigger moment is it to kind of get back because of not being able to finish off last season?
Yeah, it's a fair question for all of us involved in basketball. You know, our story was we were on the floor in Kansas City about to play Texas, literally half hour before the game. Other teams have the story that maybe they'd already played a game or a half, but our story was real. We were excited to play. We were prepared to play. Then all of a sudden it's just over. Then we had the hope that maybe just the Big 12 tournament's over. Maybe we'll get to play in the NCAA tournament. And then shortly after, I don't remember the exact time frame, but literally hours to days, we learned that the whole season was over. So a surreal ending to the season. I think it's fueled players and coaches and everybody, not only to have the best year you can have, that's every year, but I think really to appreciate the journey. We tell our guys, enjoy the ride, not just the destination. Live where your feet are, smell the roses. All these things basically mean, man, appreciate every day. College basketball is what we've all chosen to dedicate our lives to, including these players. It's what we all enjoy. It's what we all work hard to be successful at. And I think if you ask me the number one thing I think that college basketball people take from the adversity of the COVID is just an appreciation of the game and being a part of the game.
As far as going through the summer and your guys, you know, I know you couldn't have a lot to do with them, but what did you learn about them and how they handled everything from then until now and to be getting ready for the season? What did you learn about your guys?
You know, I have great respect for our players. Always have, always will, and even more so now. We talk about mental toughness a lot in our program, and I don't think I've ever seen an example of mental toughness with a group of, 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. I mean, there was times this summer where we couldn't get in our gym. Got guys playing basketball outside, conditioning outside. There was much of the summer where we couldn't even talk to the players as coaches other than FaceTime and telephone. Just to see these guys persevere. I mean, it was a great illustration to me of mental toughness, how basically our team got through this. We tried to stay positive, and I think we did. We tried to keep improving. We did. We tried to focus on each day with all the uncertainty of everything going around us, and we did. I have great appreciation and respect for our players.
Last question I got for you. Is this a new look? Are you going to keep the unshaven look? Or
It's not unshaven, man. This is a groomed beard, man. Like, a lot of work goes into this.
I guess what I was going to say, are you going to avoid shaving?
There's product in this. There's like lime. This is not. I mean, this is work. No, so I've never had a beard in my life. Obviously, with my last name, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I've gone for 3-4 days before in the off season. Normally, when the season ends, don't shave for a few days. So that's what we did this year. And then about day 5 or 6, when it was time to maybe shave, the women in my life, Randy and my 3 daughters, and even my mom, said, "Hey, it looks good." The kind of weird thing is when people tell me, "Hey, you've never looked better." So then I think back of the 40 other years of my life, where I didn't have one. So I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but I'm rocking it. It's a lot of work, but keeping the women in my life happy, especially right now with basketball season, where I'm about to see them about 10 minutes a week total. The beard's worth it.
Hey, that's the hardest part. Remember, it's early in the season. I'm out of practice too. So.
Okay.
We'll go to Brady.
Hey, Coach, so you kind of talked about how long these last few months have felt and kind of what you all went through, but what are you most looking forward to working on with your guys today in the first day of practice?
Yeah, well, most looking forward to just being back on the floor with them. And just, again, that's that appreciation of the game that was taken away from us all. So just I'd like to think that every year on the first day of practice I do reflect. I do reach out to a lot of my mentors and former coaches and players and thank them. It's always kind of a day of it's a day of focus. It's a day of reflection. First day of practice is a big day, so I feel like I've always done that. Specifically with basketball, we got to get to work, just developing chemistry. And chemistry can't take place during basketball unless you can get out there and play. And so today we finally have, enough time. We got 20 hours this week instead of 40 minutes here, an hour here. So it's going to be nice to just see the guys play together. That's our ultimate objective always in the first week of practice, is to try to get guys playing together.
And then you've added a lot of depth and talent. I know you haven't got to see him play a ton yet, but is anyone standing out as far as leadership-wise or maybe in the newcomers that have surprised you?
Well, leadership for us always starts with the returners. Certainly, we got 5 guys that played in games last year, 2 guys redshirted, so 7 guys have been in our practice before. And then 3 guys were really in the rotation last year on an NCAA tournament team. So those guys have got to be leaders by example, by the way they play, by they approach. Those guys have to defend the culture each day. When we recruit older guys to stay old, we're very transparent with those guys that we need you to be a leader from day one. So with us, that's obviously Marcus, our grad transfer senior, and then Mac McClung and JB transfers. These guys have the experience of playing Division I college basketball, so we ask them to be leaders from day one. Then with our freshmen, there's a lot of special leaders in those. And I think, you can't have leadership unless you have followers. Nobody can lead unless there's guys following. So a big part of leadership is we all have to pick and choose our times to follow, myself included. And I'm ready today to follow some of those returning players. I'm ready to follow our other coaches. So, leadership, yes, but following is just as important.
Awesome. Last question from me. I know it's the first day of practice, but are you already thinking kind of about March Madness next year and getting back there, or are you kind of just taking it day by day?
Yeah, definitely day by day. Our thing is to try to win each day. We'll literally kind of set the 30 days up into segments. Today we're going to try to go 2 straight days. We normally take our off days based on legs and fatigue. We don't ever just say, hey, well, Thursday's an off day, Sunday's an off day. It's not quite that easy. Our guys play really hard, and for the most part, we try to take off days based on fatigue and legs. So what we would like to do out of the gates is to try to put 2 practices back to back. I've had some special teams over the years where you can maybe go 3-4 straight days. Wouldn't surprise me if this group could do it, but certainly our objective is to try to go 2 back-to-back days.
All right, thanks.
Ryan King.
Hey, Coach, I know the slogan this year being, or word I should say, uncomfortable. How do you push the players, the team, and all of yourselves and the coaches up to be uncomfortable, and how does that make the team better?
Yeah, it's just what elite people do. I mean, comfortable gets you beat every single time. You see it all the time in sports. You win a big game, and the next time there's the letdown, there's that loss. We all know that in sports. We're all sports people here. I think life's the same way. You have a great day at work. You just take the edge off. It takes a special person. We use the word elite to remain uncomfortable. Coach Knight would talk a lot about when things were going good, shake the tree from time to time. Everybody expects the best, and everybody has high expectations and focus when you're in times of adversity, but only the elite people can push themselves each day to stay uncomfortable. I think uncomfortable is where growth comes from. Uncomfortable is what you have to be to play and compete in the Big 12. So our guys have really embraced this. Each season we try to have a theme, and this year we just felt like if this group can stay uncomfortable because we like our talent, we like our culture, if this team can kind of keep pushing, don't get too high, too low, just stay kind of uncomfortable right there in the medium, we think we have a great chance to grow.
We were asking Kyler earlier, do you see a certain identity that this team has already shown you, or are you still trying to figure that out, or at what point do you expect to see that?
I think by now, year 5, some of our identity is ingrained in our culture. Our culture is not changing. We teach it, we demand it, and then we defend it. And with those 7 returners and with multiple coaches that were here last year, including John Riley, our strength coach, he's kind of the defender of our culture, especially in the summer and preseason. So that's not going to change. The identity of Tech basketball is going to be that unselfishness. It's going to be that no entitlement. It's going to be that love of the game. It's going to be that mental toughness. It's going to be that addiction to work. So that's going to change. Now, each year, another part of your identity with basketball, can change. Like some years you have Tariq Owens, your defense is a shot blocking identity. Other years you might have Al Perez and you're taking charges. So right now I would say that we have a chance to be a very good defensive team because of our athleticism and length and toughness and experience. And then offensively, I think we have to have be a team that has balance because we got a lot of talent. And I think if we can get 5 or 6 guys in double figures, we'll have a chance to be a second weekend type team.
Coach, in terms of pure talent, I know there's a lot that goes into it, but in terms of pure talent, how does this team stack up to some of the ones you've had in the past?
Yeah, we like our team. It has to translate to the floor now. You know, you ask me that question in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll have a better understanding because that practice stat sheet's real. You know, one of our first objectives when we came to Texas Tech 4 seasons ago was to simply have Big 12 players on the roster from slot 1 to 13. And I think we've done that. I think we got really close year 2, and we were there year 3 and 4. So, you know, there's not going to be a game this year that we go into, and if we finish second and run out of time, you'll never hear me say, well, we just didn't have the talent to compete tonight. That's not the thing. We feel like we can win every game on our schedule. It's easy to talk about, but very, very difficult to do. But we like our talent. We think we can compete in the Big 12, which will mean that we can compete in the national tournament as well.
And in terms of your schedule, is it pretty well put together right now, or are there still some moving parts?
Yeah, work in progress. I know Sean Sutton on our staff is working tirelessly over this, as well as other coaches are. When the NCAA came out with their announcement, it wasn't just as simple as taking the schedule you had and cutting out a few games. There's been all sorts of factors: team travel, cancellation, money guarantees. So we're really close. We think we're pretty close to announcing the schedule. We feel good about it. We're going to have a combination between home games, neutral site games. We're playing some definite NCAA tournament teams, some teams that are picked to win their conference. I like the balance we have. Now, whether we can execute it, a lot of factors go into it. But we put together a schedule not only that checks the boxes with what we need to do competition-wise, but also, you know, we've picked some schools that are in location. You know, a lot of teams, you know, we're trying to stay off airplanes this year. I think the more you can get places on bus, you control the uncontrollables. So I would say we're probably days to week away from announcing our schedule, and we feel pretty good about it.
All right, Don?
Chris, with the talent that you've assembled, what do you think this team will do best, or what will this team do well?
Don, did Carlos quit?
No, Carlos had a conflict. He deputized me.
Okay. I mean, I like it when both of you show up. When both of you show up, I know something's going on, man. Either really good or really bad. But ask the question again. My ADD's kicking in.
With the talent that you have assembled, what do you think this team will do best or will do well?
What I hope will be a really good defensive team with our toughness and athleticism and length, and that's our identity, our focus. I know today's practice schedule most of the time will be on defense. That's what I hope. And I really think, not to put a lot of pressure on these guys, but kind of truth teller culture, I think this could be one of our best offensive teams. We got a lot of talent, ball handling, shooting, drivers. We got back to the basket guys this year. We've got offensive rebounders. I think if this talent can work together, we could be really good on both sides of the ball.
Give us a quick little synopsis of your freshmen.
Yeah, special group, 4 guys. And, of course, Tariq will be a redshirt freshman on paper this year. But the 4 guys coming in the recruiting class, Vlad is a big-time person, loves the game, played at a high level as a young player in Russia, has the year of prep school, a private high school underneath him. We think he's going to be really, really good and could contribute this year. Buzo is a player that maybe isn't getting talked about as much, but he will be talked about very, very soon. He's a positionless player that can really, really shoot the ball, high character, played for a great high school coach. I don't use that word lightly. He's been coached at a high level. He's versatile. He's got a humility about him where you see superstar in the future, but a work ethic and a competitiveness where he can be relative from day one. Certainly Namari has gotten a lot of attention, which he deserves, and has just done a great job. We talked about leading and following earlier. There's no doubt that he's a leader in his talent and where he is going with his game, but he's been very impressive early by being a willing follower, listening to guys like Kyler and these guys that have been around. So Namari's special, can play different positions, and obviously an elite athlete. And then lastly of the 4, Micah Peavy, in my eyes, the best player in Texas the last 2 years. a two-time state champion if the COVID doesn't pop up, in my opinion. Another guy that's been coached at a high level at Duncanville by David Peavy, and then certainly a versatile guy. No position, can do it all. And then just, again, a humility. So these four guys are special, not because of just their talent, but also just kind of their demeanors. And they're addicted, man. They're addicted to the work. Like, this isn't a deal where we're trying to get our freshmen in the gym. Like, they're in the gym. They're working like they've been here for a long time, which is awesome.
A moment ago, you mentioned that on the first day of practice, you like to reach out to people who have meant a lot to you in the past. Who did you reach out to today?
Yeah, definitely sent some text messages today to some players that have paved the way for us to try to have the kind of season we have, including a couple of former Texas Tech players, Brandon Francis, to try to get him this morning. Certainly some of the coaches that helped me advance and even get into college coaching. First day is always kind of a day of reflection to me. I don't know how other coaches feel about it, but it's always kind of like a new beginning. And to me, before you take that jump in the new beginning, you look back one more time. So today was a day of a lot of thankfulness for me.
You've obviously put a big emphasis on building up your home court advantage in your crowd and reaching out to students and all those sorts of things. With the COVID this year, presumably you'll be at reduced capacity in the arena. To what extent does that affect your team, and do you have any input on what you would like the composition of the crowd to be?
Well, it definitely concerns me because a big part of our plan is to always have a home court advantage. It's what makes this job and this community special. I still think it's possible to have a home court advantage regardless of what the attendance is. So my expectations are that we sell out every game. If that sellout ends up being 4,000 fans instead of 15, we're still going to try to sell it out. I think there'll be a great responsibility for our fan base, too, the people that are fortunate enough to get into the games to bring energy. Simply stated, you got to cheer loud enough for 4 people. And I'll try to do my part getting that message out to our loyal fan base, both students and season ticket holders. In terms of the arena, I've been paying attention to all the college football games, and I think some people have really figured it out. I loved our last home crowd here with Texas Tech football. Although we didn't have the normal 60,000 people, we had a home field advantage. I liked how the people came early and stayed late. The configuration, Don, that's a question I've been asking. I haven't gotten the answer yet, but do you take every other row off? Do you take every 4 seats off? I don't know. But what I can promise is that I'll personally be involved in those decisions because the home court advantage means everything to us.
Yeah. One other real quick. A moment ago when you talked about team identities, you said some years you have Tariq Owens and your identity is shot blocking and defense, and other years you have a player that you named that you said your identity is taking charges. Who was that you referred to?
I think I said Alfred Perez. He was our big guy at McMurray University. Al was a special guy. When he started his career at McMurray, they were a Division III school. When I was coaching there, we went full scholarship D2. And Al basically went from a D3 player to an all-conference player in D2. Played professional basketball after McMurray. One of the all-time greats, Al Perez.
I see a lot of people have their hands up, so I'll pass it on to the next person.
Yeah, we're running out of time, so we're going to go with 2 more questions. Just if you can just limit it to 1, let's go to David.
Oh, Coach, yeah, you mentioned the new faces. You mentioned Tariq being a redshirt freshman. How excited are you to see the 2 guys that have been practicing with the team and have been part of the program, in Tariq and Tom Wake, and see their development and finally being able to get out on the court?
Yeah, Tariq and Joel have a chance to be big parts of this year's team. They're right in the mix. They'll be competing for roles and minutes. Sometimes when a player chooses a red shirt, that's still a long, hard year, but there's a plan in place. With Reek, didn't choose his red shirt, injury. Joel didn't choose his red shirt, a waiver. So just kind of personally feel for those guys. It was a long year last year, but to see those guys back on the court today, first practice, they know they're eligible to play this year. It's just exciting. We tell our players all the time, run your own race. Sometimes you got to be really patient. Sometimes it comes quicker. All of us have a different life and a different plan, including basketball. But certainly those guys have shown some great toughness in patience last year, continuing to grind when they couldn't play.
Okay, we'll finish up.
Quick housekeeping on those two real quick if I can. Burton, last time we talked to you, you said you didn't know if he was going to play this year. Has that been updated, and plus the MAC update as well?
Yeah, so JB, we have not made a decision there. Again, today's the first day of practice, so I think that'll be an open dialogue. And then with Mac McClung, we are waiting. We're waiting on the waiver decision. But it's my understanding that we've done everything on our end of Texas Tech and Mac's family, and so we're in the waiting game there.
All right, we'll finish up with Jarrett.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, what's the update on the coaching staff? Are y'all full now, or where are you at in that process?
Yeah, going to make an official announcement on that sooner than later, but there'll be a little bit of adjustment in roles this year. But we start practice today with 3 assistants and then 2 off the court guys helping in the role they can. And then we'll try to have an update for you guys on that sooner than later. We have not made an outside hire on the coaching staff, so you guys can kind of figure that out. We have had some great additions with the graduate assistants, video staff, and I think I think the plan is to kind of maybe in the same time frame that we release the schedule to kind of release this year's complete coaching staff.